Hi, good morning. Hola, Maricol. This is our final exam of English, and we are going to explain you what we're going to do.
We investigate about the Troya history and all its myths.
And we investigate a lot because it's a controversial topic and a long time.
We discover the truth that is false, and we will tell you about it.
Everyone knows how the Trojan War ended, with a bunch of guys piling out of a giant wooden horse. Even the most famous account, Homer's Iliad, only covers the tail end of the war. Regardless, the events of the war itself have been debated extensively, and the actual truth is still largely unknown. All we have to go on is myth. Legend states that a human king and a sea nymph were married, with all the gods in attendance. However, Eris, the goddess of discord, was turned away at the door. Irritated, she tossed out her wedding gift, a golden apple to be gifted to the fairest. This title now being up for grabs, Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite squabbled over it, each laying claim to the apple. Not being able to choose amongst themselves, the goddesses decided to ask an impartial third party, a Trojan prince named Paris. Of course, all of them attempted to bribe Paris, and in the end, he chose Aphrodite, who promised him the love of Helen of Sparta, the most beautiful woman in the world. Paris, aiming to get what he was promised, stole Helen away from Sparta. What followed was a web of alliances that would make World War I blush. These allies included such all-stars as Odysseus, Agamemnon, Ajax, and Achilles. The conflict lasted a full decade, with Troy being placed under siege for the last 9 years. Odysseus, who just wanted to go home to his wife Penelope, decided to finally end it once and for all, using only his wits and a giant wooden horse.
Okay, first of all, I am going to explain the history, all the people think that happens, and is that the Prince Paris fell in love with Helena, who was married with Menelaus, and it was the king of Sparta, and that is why he supposed the war
My
started.
partner just said is the love story, and now we are going to explain a bit of context of the time, and we are going to explain what really happened.
One of the factors that ended the Trojan War was the Hittite Empire.
One of the great scientific advances of recent times has been the decipherment of cuneiform and hieroglyphic text from the Hittite Empire, which covered much of Asia Minor until the time of the supposed Trojan War.
Okay, so many archaeologists decide to find where is Troya, so they find many cities, but two were the most similar to the walls of Troya, and the Imperial Hittite was the most similar, and Ian is going to explain you why.
Early Greek-sounding personal names have been found in Hittite records. These include the city names Wilisa, which when pronounced sounds a bit like Ilium, the Greek term of Troy, hence Iliad. Despite all these linguistic similarities or coincidences, the Hittite records that have so far been discovered and published do not contain any reference of anything resembling a Homeric Trojan War.
We commonly know that Helen of Troy was the main cause of the war, but a woman is not important enough to start a whole war, even if she were the most beautiful in the world.
Other investigations suggest that the kidnapping of Helena was nothing more than a nice way to decorate a war to which they would give all the epic and mythological overtones that could fit in it, making a romantic story of a great confrontation.
Of Troy, also known as Helen of Sparta, is a figure in Greek mythology whose element with the Trojan prince Paris sparked the Trojan War. Helena was the wife of Menelaus, king of Sparta, and considered the most beautiful woman in the world. Daughter of the king of Sparta, Tyndareus, and queen of Leda. Her real father was actually Zeus, who joined the queen in the form of a swan. As Helen of Troy was the most beautiful woman in the world, it was believed that she was the daughter of Zeus, and that she had been born from a swan's egg.
But this is the soft and story, because what really happened, if it happened, was the kidnapping of Helena to rape her and imprison her for representing all the feminine beauty while she is considered a treasure.
What do you think of losing an entire empire for a woman? Do you think it's worth it? Afterwards, we continue with the story of Troy and its all brave warriors.
Now we are going to talk about Achilles, one of the best warriors who have his life for the Battle of Troy. As we all know, his weakness has his heel.
One of the theories why Achilles has a weakness is that the only part of Achilles' body that remained vulnerable was his heel, since it was from there that Thetis, his mother, held him when bathing him in the magical waters.
The theory is that his mother bound the entire body of Achilles and the spirit with a balm of the gods, but it was missing in the heel, and there his weakness.
There is also the theory that Achilles was in love with his partner Patroclus, but in these times bisexuality was very normal.
Now we're going to continue with the Trojan horse. And as we all know, this war strategy is still used today, but there are several theories of how it was and its shape and size, and they question the ability of all the warriors.
One of the theories is that this was a wooden horse that was given as a peace offering to the city of Troy. And inside it were the best warriors waiting at the moment of night to attack the city and finish it off.
But this theory is hard to believe because the shape of the horse is not designed to carry people, but this is when another theory of the shape of the horse arrives.
And here comes the hippoid theory, that it was a sheep with the head of a horse, and it was also an offering. This theory is a little more credible because the shape of a sheep is easier to hide soldiers and more useful in those times.
Okay, so after seeing all this information, I get in the conclusion that the war doesn't happen because the information doesn't connect and there is like many holes on this information.
What I think is that it was a war that destroyed all Troya and all that, but there are some facts that they're not changed.
And I think that the reason of the war is not logic and is not one reason for continue the war.
I think it didn't happen a war even in that part of Troya or something like that.
And like in the times of the Imperio of Haiti and all the things, there doesn't get like in time and all the things, and there is not like historic history like to search or see information like other wars. Okay, so after all this information, it's time to conclude, and we went at 10. Goodbye.
Like and subscribe.